What's up guys, AJ here. In this video I'm going to be talking about becoming financially independent and retiring early. So you may not have heard the acronym for financial independence, retire early, but it's FIRE. And this has become somewhat of a movement, especially what I see in the millennial generation, and I absolutely love it. So it's been my goal since as long as I can remember, 16, 17 years old, wanting to become financially independent and retire early. I just called it financial freedom. I called it time freedom, money freedom, and location freedom, and now there's an acronym with a movement behind it called FIRE. So the basic premise of FIRE is once you have enough passive income to exceed your living expenses, then you're financially free, you're financially independent, and you can retire early. So I see the biggest trend in this is investing your money in a low cost indexed fund, primarily the Vanguard or the VTSAX. Now this isn't any financial advisement, I'm not a financial advisor. However, I really like the idea of investing in the Vanguard fund because of the fees being lower and the annual returns that can be created. I'll cover topics around that in future videos. But basically, so let's just say for example, if your living expenses are $40,000 a year and you want that to be covered through your returns, you would need $1 million invested at a 4% return to be financially independent. Now there's two types of people when looking at this FIRE concept. There's people who are going to go after it and do what's called lean FIRE and fat FIRE. You've probably guessed that fat FIRE is going to be those who want to create a higher income, and lean FIRE are those who are okay living off of a little bit of income. There's a lot of blogs out there on this topic. I've seen people earning as low as $7,000 a year all the way upwards of several hundreds of thousands of dollars a year through their investments, or that's their goal. Now for me, the fat FIRE method is really the way I'd want to go. I couldn't see myself living on say $7,000 or even $30,000 a year in income going after this lean FIRE method. I'm a real estate agent, and with the company that I've partnered with, I've already created enough passive income to be able to retire early. Now my goal is to take that income, put it in a low-cost index mutual fund, and be able to live on that interest as well. So I want to have multiple streams of income. I already have 4 different streams of income, but I want to keep adding to that. So my goal is to take the money that I'm earning currently and to build enough passive income through the Vanguard fund to live off that. So if you've always wanted to become financially free, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it and you don't know where to start, well, the first thing you're going to want to do is to actually set a goal. If you don't have a goal of how much money you actually need to live this lifestyle that you desire, then you're just going to keep working simply for the sake of working. You're not going to spend your money wisely, you're not going to invest it, you're going to overspend on things that, quite frankly, don't really add to your happiness. At the end of the day, our #1 goal is to be happy. People buy maybe a Lamborghini or a beautiful home all because they think that thing is going to make them happier. So sit down, if you have a spouse, do it with them. You got to be on the same page in this, and write down how much income would it take to live your ideal lifestyle. What kind of car do you want to have? What kind of house do you want to have? And figure out what do those things cost. If you're going to finance them, what would those monthly payments be, and then add that up. A lot of times I find that even if you want to live this lavish lifestyle, it doesn't cost as much as you actually might think once you write it down. And maybe you're already only living off say $4,000 or $5,000 a month and you're happy with that. Well, then write that down and figure out how much you need to have in a fund to live off 4% of that number, because it's called the 4% rule. There was actually a study done called the Trinity study that says over a 30-year period you have a 98% chance of not running out of money if you withdraw 4% every single year. A great place to start with this is to write down the top 10 things that makes you happy, and have your spouse do the exact same thing. And what you are going to find is most of the stuff that you write down actually don't really cost a lot of money, if any money at all. Some of the things that I wrote down was spending time at coffee shops, walking my dogs with my wife, spending time at the ocean, and of course I wrote down snowboarding and some other things like that that certainly does cost money, but it wasn't a Lamborghini. It wasn't this giant house. You know, I want to have things like that. However, those weren't primarily the things I was writing down that I need to become happy. So once you have your top 10 list of things that make you happy, compare your notes if you have a significant other, or just reflect on what that is and decide how much money are you going to need to retire early. Write that number down and make that your goal. Once you have that nest egg number that you need invested in the market, say it's 40 grand a year for you, you're gonna need $1 million based on the 4% rule. How long will it take you to save $1 million? Not your current savings rate, but what you could be saving. What could you cut back on? What could you do differently? Could you get rid of one of your cars? Whatever it might be for you. Or is there a business you could start? I tend to like to focus on not what can I cut out of my lifestyle, but how can I earn more money? I think it's a much better use of your mental energy when you're focusing on how can I create multiple streams of income, how can I start a new business, as opposed to just maybe cutting your cable bill, for example. So just think about what that would look like in your life if you could actually retire early at maybe 35, 40 years old. How would that feel? What could you do with your family, your kids? These are the types of things that you need to be thinking about, because if you're not, you're gonna ultimately end up in a place where you might not be that happy with, because you weren't purposeful, you weren't intentional with what you were doing. So for me, having financial independence, money freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, that's true freedom. Because if you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week until you're 60, 70 years old, that's not freedom. That is not freedom. And in this life, it's my belief that you should have freedom, and I know you can achieve it.